Did you know there are 3 things that are very important that will determine your success? Do you know what they are? If not, tune in and find out.
You are listening to the Prosper Law Podcast. Learn how to reduce stress, have more time, and make more money. Come on in.
I'm Greg McCollum, and I built a 7-figure criminal defense law firm. I formed Prosper Law to show criminal defense law firm owners who are desperate for success how to grow from under $200,000 to $1 million and beyond.
Hi, Greg McCollum here with another edition of Prosper Law Podcast. There are 3 things in your life, and some of these things are going to have already been set up and may feel like they're out of your control, and to some extent they may be. And these are things that make your life and your success come more easily. Are they absolutely essential? No, because in some instances I've not had these 3 things necessarily. But the 3 things are, who's your partner, who's your spouse, who's your significant other, who's your spouse. I'll just use the term spouse. Is that person supportive or fearful? The other thing is, where are you located? What's the location of your business? What town are you in? Are there a lot of people there that need your service? In other words, if you're a criminal defense lawyer, is there a lot of business there? And I know a very successful lawyer in New Jersey, Allison Williams, and she has I have a lot of respect for her. I've known her for a long time. We're not close, but I follow her. I listen to her podcast and things like that. And she has a coaching program, and she coaches lawyers in success, does success coaching, but she also has a family court law firm in New Jersey. And I remember years ago, because we were in the same program, that she looked up the zip codes in New Jersey, and I think it was Short Hills, New Jersey, had one of the highest incomes, in the state of New Jersey, maybe one of the higher ones in the country. So she literally moved her office and herself to that zip code, and that's something that it's a lot easier to do if you're young, if you're just starting out, if you're not married, you don't have children, so you're not taking your children out of this school and moving them into another one and those kind of things. So they're different kind of things, and that can be an advantage. And if you're just starting out, that's something that you can really do. The other thing is your sphere of influence. Who is around you? What kind of information are they giving you? Is it good information? Is it stuff that helps you? Or these people that are successful? Now, for me, really, when I started practicing law, when I opened my law firm, I had decided I grew up in Greenville, South Carolina, and just through circumstances, I wanted to get a job in the DA's office. And I had tried to get one in different parts of the state, but I ended up moving to Myrtle Beach. And there was a judge I worked for, and I'd never thought about living in Myrtle Beach, and he encouraged me to do that. He said, there's a lot of opportunity here. This place is not, that well established. It's growing. And to some extent, he was right. And so that's where I settled. Now, interestingly enough, in my mind, when I left the DA's office, I thought I couldn't move. Okay, so that's a very profound limiting belief. A very good friend of mine who's a lawyer who was from Charleston, and he had his law firm in Charleston, and I had this idea that I wanted to move to Charleston because at that time Charleston was Charleston, and Myrtle Beach was a little bit of a backwater at the time. When the tourism stopped after Labor Day, it was kind of not a ghost town, but really kind of a ghost town. But I didn't think I could move. And the reason I didn't think I could move is because I had made contacts. I had worked for the DA's office for a number of years. People knew me. I had been in the news. I knew a lot of police officers. I knew a lot of lawyers. I had interacted with a lot of people. And I thought at that time that I couldn't go somewhere else. I thought I was locked in. Now, that's just a limiting belief, okay? And now when I look back at it, that's false. I could have gone anywhere I wanted to, and there was proof of that because I knew people, and then I'd read about people, I'd meet people that not only did they move to another town in the state, they left the state altogether, which at that time, it's a lot better now, but at that time, to move to, if you're going to move to California or Texas or New York or something like that, you'd have to take the bar exam. And so that's it takes about 6 months because you have to study for it. You have to take it. You have to pass it. You have to wait for the results. You have to, get sworn in. But people were doing that, but I didn't believe it was possible, which is interesting when you see other people doing something, but you don't think it's possible for yourself. That's just a very extreme limiting belief. Now, how important is your spouse? And this is obviously a touchy subject, right? And I went through this personally because my spouse, my ex-wife now, she worked for me. She worked in my law firm. She worked as an office manager, paralegal. And so she was on this journey with me. And she had some really very, very strong fear-based limiting beliefs. And when I was in this one particular coaching program, in that program, it almost seems like this wasn't really happening, but because the coach was trying to change our mindset, all of our events were at the Ritz-Carlton. And so, a glass of wine at the Ritz-Carlton at the little happy hour thing it's like $15 for one glass of wines, okay? The rooms cost more, everything in it costs more, even though we had a special rate. And we did the same thing every time. We would get on a plane and fly to the city where the thing was happening. And it could be anywhere. I mean, we went to things in Chicago. We went to, Southern California, went to Miami a lot. And the anticipation of us going together for her was always very exciting. And it was always looking forward to it. And then we would get there, and then she would have this kind of euphoria that this is so fantastic. It's so nice to be here. I can't believe, we're living like this and that sort of thing. Because if not for that program, I mean, I wasn't staying at the Ritz-Carlton. Would never occur to me to stay somewhere like that at that time. But then, about a day into it, or sometimes a few hours into it, her personality would change, and she was not supportive at all. She would become combative, and if you look at that, and I understand it better now. And my coaches told me, they said, they didn't use the word, she's blocking your success or there's an issue there. But there clearly was. All of my coaches, no matter what program I was in, no matter who I was working with, they saw it. So then what would happen is that I would just have to kind of just push through, and it was difficult. And it's over time, over years, because I was in that program for years, it became such a thing that at some point she just didn't go with me anymore because she couldn't take it. Okay, and it's interesting because you think, oh, we want to be successful, but then you have this thing this tug of war based on fear and lack of security. And I don't know, to this day, I don't know if she felt like I was growing away from her or not. I was certainly trying to bring her along. And eventually it got so bad that, she just left me. We got a divorce. And that was that. So that's touchy, okay? And I'm not saying that you can't power through that. You cannot be successful without a supportive spouse, but it makes a big difference, and it's very important. Now, your location, are you in a place where you can do business? Are you in a place where you can prosper? Are you in a place that you can thrive? Does it suit you? Are you happy there? Do you like living there, and do you like doing business there? And that's another thing, because with my law firm now, we've expanded outside of Myrtle Beach, and we have an office outside of Charleston. We're getting ready to open an office in Georgetown. That's not a great distance, but eventually, I think we'll have offices throughout the state. So that's different, though. Expanding, it's not necessarily easy, but expanding into other markets while staying in the same market is easier than just packing everything up and going to a new place to do your practice law, to run your business. So, but it's also possible. But it's important, who you're in a relationship with, because you hear the voices constantly, whether the person's saying anything or not. And if somebody's not happy that you're going to work, if somebody's not happy that you're working late, if somebody's not happy that you're taking a business trip, it's an anchor. It's like you have an anchor tied to you that you're dragging around. And I certainly did that for a number of years. I was still successful, though. It just took a little harder. In terms of sphere of influence, my sphere of influence was, really not. It wasn't unlike anybody else's, but it was not good, because the people that were around me, and whether they were friends of mine or people I socialized with or people I went to church with, or other lawyers, they pretty much all had the same limiting beliefs. There was nobody that really believed that anybody could be successful. And it was all around me, but I didn't know that at the time. I didn't understand it. And as you start to become a little more successful, Napoleon Hill in Think and Grow Rich talks about how, for success to see you, you have to rise up enough to be seen. And for years, I didn't know what he was talking about, but I start to understand it now, because as you increase your sphere of influence with people that are helpful, that know what to do, that are people that are willing to act as a mentor for you or coach you or do something, that sphere of influence starts to change. And so now when I look at my life, I have a different sphere. I know people that are successful. I know lawyers that are very successful. I have friends that are in other industries that are successful that I spend some time with. I have people that I've coached with. I have people that, people that own coaching programs that I can talk to that are helpful. I have my mastermind group with Prosper at Law, and I get to interact with other lawyers that are solving some of the same problems I've solved, but also get perspective from them. And that's very helpful. I can't really overstate how significant it is if you get in a room and you develop relationships with people, so that when you're trying to do something in your law firm, there's somebody that you can call. Because what we all tend to do, or at least I did it, is I would ask people questions about business decisions or things in my law firm. And the person I was asking, it's not that they were not trying to be helpful. They didn't know the answer. But instead of saying, Greg, I don't know what you're talking about, I don't know. I don't know. People, for some reason, just make up an answer, and they just give you their opinion. And their opinion can be completely wrong. And I remember because I had met people, and when you meet one person, then next thing you know, you met another person, and then another person, and then you start having this sphere of influence. And even for the coaching program, Prosper at Law, I remember because, this was an idea that, that was germinating, and I was working on it at that time with a business partner, and she and I actually were going to have a coaching program together, and it was going to be criminal defense and family law. And for different personal reasons, she dropped out. But I found this mastermind, and she and I went together. And in that mastermind group, I was with people that had different kinds of coaching programs in different industries, not law. And I was trying to get started. And in that 2 days of being with those people, and it was very intimidating for me too. I felt lost. But I left that because in a mastermind, you bring your ask. So you're saying what you're trying to do. You're saying what you've done so far. And then you bring your ask. And I remember standing there, and because they were telling me what to do. Each one was explaining exactly what I needed to do. And so I grabbed a piece of paper. And interestingly too, like my partner at the time in the coaching program, she was being defensive. And sometimes in a mastermind group, when people are telling you the truth, some people are offended and they get defensive. But you don't want to be defensive. You want to be open, and you want to hear what they're saying. And at one point, and I don't normally talk to people like this, I told her, because we're standing right there, we were 4 feet from them, and they were just around the table. We're 4 feet from them. They can hear everything we're saying to each other. And I told her, I said, stop arguing with them. Just stop talking, stop arguing with them, and just shut up and listen. And normally I would never tell anybody to shut up, right? But I said, just shut up and listen. And I grabbed a pad and I wrote down, and there were 5 things they told me to do. And so that year I did all 5. And they were big things, okay? But prior to that, I knew where I wanted to go, but I didn't know what the steps were. I didn't know what to do. And they just told me because they knew. So that's an incredible sphere of influence. And I was in that room because of people that I had worked with previously, because I met this person, and as a result of that, I met this person, then I met this person, and then ultimately the person that suggested, this mastermind was taking place in my hometown. It was taking place at a hotel resort that is a little over a half a mile from my house. And these people were from all over the country. And that was, I jogged by that same hotel because it's so close to my house. I jogged by it 3 times a week. I had no idea they were having a mastermind group there. But because I knew Ken Hardison, and they were actually having it there for him because at the time he lived in Myrtle Beach. And he said, Greg, let me see if I can get you an invite to this group. They're meeting in January. So he called the people that ran it, and they said, yeah, here's the process, buy a ticket, come. So I wouldn't have even known that would have been taking place, less than a mile from my house, and I would not have even known it was happening. And it was groundbreaking, because if you're sitting around and you don't know what to do, if you don't know how to grow your law firm, if you don't know how to expand, and there's a group of people that can tell you and you can listen, now you have a path. Do these 5 things, Greg. And that's what I did. So I can't overestimate how significant that is. And so your sphere of influence is huge. And as you grow, that grows. All right? As you grow, that grows. And those people helping me just created a massive shortcut. Now I've got a roadmap of exactly what to do. And the same things have happened in my law firm, where people that I'm talking to who know the answer from experience say, do these things in this order. And it's the same thing with the mastermind groups. When we meet and everybody has different issues and we're all in the same room, there are no distractions. There's nobody else allowed in the room. And nobody is in competition with anybody else because they all come from different geographic markets. And they're saying, do this and do this. It's life-changing. And that's your sphere of influence. And it's one of the major benefits. It's the key. It's the reason to join a coaching program. And whether it's Prosper at Law or something else, it's the key because it's like the keys to the kingdom. This is where you're going to learn it. This is how you're going to find out what to do. This is you put in the effort and you get in the room with people and then you develop really good relationships with them. And now you have this sphere of influence and it's life-changing. So that's all for today. Thanks for listening. I hope you have a wonderful week. Until next time, Greg McCollum, wishing you all the success.
If you want to know more, go to prosperatlaw.com. We show criminal defense law firm owners how to reduce stress, have more free time, and make more money. Thanks for listening.